can you see this person's perspective,
Right.
but can you see beyond this barrier that is in front of you right now? And we do get to that place of gratitude and actually appreciation. Now, it takes us refusing to stay in a victim mindset in order to do that.
Ain't no victims here. We are ready to celebrate who we are. And even if we're not in the mood for a big old holiday, I said, are the obligations? This is Terry. She sent me a text a few minutes ago. The obligations and expectations of trying to become a Christmas movie in real life, getting you down because it ain't happening.
Girl,
Let's talk about that. Yeah.
Lifetime movies go one of two ways. Either they're feel good or somebody ends up in jail. So holidays could be the same way. So
they really can be. They really can be. Well, we've got people who are joining us right now. Let's see who's on with us. Oh, yes. Joyce is here. Good afternoon, girls. Good afternoon to you, Joyce. Good afternoon to our
Joyce.
Elizabeth. And we're trying to kind of get in the spirit, but you know what? The spirit does not mean everything's got to be happy, happy, joy, joy, unless you're Jack. All right, which one is that one?
This is Otis.
Otis.
Otis said, I need to be seen. Yes.
You know, it really has become where we've decided, because we see all the pictures of what the holidays are, we're disappointed or depressed if we're not that.
Mm-hmm. And that is sad. You know, it's sad in a lot of ways. Mainly because there's a lot of, because whether it's family dynamics or what it is, there's set up that there's an expectation. And with that expectation, be it spoken or unspoken, then there's an obligation, and we have to fulfill those obligations. Sometimes we're fulfilling obligations to others, and we're actually doing a disservice to our own well-being or our own mental, emotional, spiritual, financial well-being. So being very mindful of how to navigate certain key steps that we can do when we're in a situation where you are around others, and you know, certain ways that you can blueprint to help yourself navigate that, because it doesn't have to be an all or nothing.
Let's talk about the family table where all good fights begin. Or in the kitchen getting ready to go to the table. I mean, let's be quite honest with you. Family dynamics can be crazy. You know, that Holly Hunter did a great, like, Home for the Holidays movie. I think that's the name of it. And it was more real than anything because the family dynamics were kind of crazy. But that's what family dynamics are a great deal of the time. Let's talk about the family member who has been an addict going back, or there is an addict in the family that is coming to dinner. How do we handle that?
Well, it depends on what kind of addict we're talking about, because maybe we're addicted to substance. Maybe we're addicted to drama. Maybe we're addicted to whatever. So let's just use the word addict or addictive personality in general, because realistically, they're all held around the same way. You know, knowing what your boundaries are. You know, if you first, you have to create a plan. The best outcomes for, and this is not just holiday, the best outcome for any encounter with family, friends, whomever, is going to be creating a plan when you have a lot of different energies, a lot of different expectations, a lot of different, all of that stuff together. Know what your plan of action is. Know when you can take breaks. Know when you can say yes and say no, and stick to that. Because, you know, a dear friend of mine posted on Instagram a long time ago, and I've since shared it, the quote, you're not obligated to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. You know, we very much want that idea of that, you know, the kumbaya moment where everyone's under, you know, everyone is celebrating and there's festivities and there's mistletoe and all the kids are opening packages and the dog's got the checkerboard collar on and everything looks great. But we all have our own individual version of what that perfection can look like. And
Uh-huh.
sometimes it is not in the cards for it to be our particular family dynamic. So we have to take that as an interpersonal thing. How can we show up? How can
That's
we set
right.
boundaries?
Yeah, Elizabeth, I love what she says. Got both. It can be very, very unpleasant. One in recovery and one trying to be in our family.
Mm-hmm.
That's an issue. I've also watched The People of the Lie. There's a book that was out a few years ago, People of the Lie. It's one of the stories was one of the children shot himself with a gun. And that Christmas, the family wrapped that gun up and gave it to the next son. And there are those mixed messages and those weird things that happen in a family. And you go, that is probably not good. I think about when you have the addict coming home and they go, well, we're not addicts. We're going to drink. We're going to do whatever. You know, I think it's okay to
Well,
say,
a lot of
look,
times,
let's be compassionate, you know. Go ahead.
well, I think there's there many times there is a let's take alcoholism for an example.
Mm,
There are lots and lots of people who are living a sober life by choice and some by force, right? So because there's expectations and consequences to that. So at a family gathering, if you are someone who alcohol is an issue for you, being able to, if it's safe to express that to your family loved ones, can we just not have alcohol this time? Or, depending on where you are in your journey, some folks are
mhm.
sober living and they can be around people who are drinking and they've already established their own boundaries, their own blueprint, their own accountability. But there are families out there who will have people who have addictive personalities, whether you're addicted to chestnut pie or whether you're addicted to, Red Bull or Red Bull, I guess you could be addicted to, or, I'm trying to think of a beer off the top of my head. Fireball, we'll say
Beer.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, beer. There you go. Either any of those, we have to be accountable in our own way, but we also have to be able to express, what
Right.
our needs are. Because, um, I mean, let's be real. The holidays for someone who's addicted to food, I mean, it's just like taking a field day in Frugal McDougal. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. It's hitting the same receptors in the brain. You know,
Exactly. Exactly.
the res-
You know,
so
I've watched in families that, well, I mean, even in my own, where had really worked my entire life to, I mean, my weight has been part of my struggle ever, and I'm doing really well right now. But I can remember those years of going home where very tiny people would look at me and go, oh, you're losing weight. You're doing really well. Hey, you want some pie? And I say, no. And then they get their feelings hurt because I won't have their pie. And I'm going, wait a minute. For years, I was berated because of my weight. Now I'm doing okay. And I said, okay, I'm not going to have your pie. And then you get your feelings hurt because I don't have your pie. Why do you keep, and then just keep, and on and on and on. And, here, have some, it won't hurt you. Go, when did they suck the calories out? I don't know. But those are those kind of things where you go, wait a minute, that's not okay. I have a boundary and you're not, not
mhm.
abiding.
and and sometimes having those conversations beforehand are great. If you can have them beforehand, it's great. Let's be real. Some of us have got family members that it doesn't matter how many conversations you have, you're going to show up and they're going to be their best version of themselves. And it's going to be a solid 2 on the scale of 1 to 10. And that's just the way it is. And learning not to judge that, but know that you're okay in your own right to set your boundaries, to say thanks,
Mhm.
but no thanks, on whatever
Yeah.
that is.
Another case scenario, my family doesn't like my partner. They're not welcome. How do you handle that?
Well, you decide. Do you want to be around your family? Um, and if you do, then advocate for your partner to be there. And if your family says no, then decide whether or not you want to participate in that family event. We tend to make a whole lot. We make it up. We thicken the pudding up a lot when it comes to like, oh, I just don't know if I can. Sure, you can make a decision. Either you want to be with the family or you don't. Now, sometimes that water gets muddied, but if you've got an open dialogue with your family, maybe they don't like your significant other. You know, is there a reason they don't? You know, do they have a valid reason for not wanting them there? And try to be compassionate in their reasoning. If they don't have a valid reason, then you have to make some hard decisions for yourself, whether you're going to go without your partner and have a conversation with them, or whether you're not going to go and have a conversation with your family. You know,
Absolutely.
most of the time it's not that the decision is, it's not that we don't know. I just don't know. I just don't know. We do know. It's just we
We
might not
always
like
know.
the having to execute. Yeah, we might not like having to execute what that looks like.
Kevin Marshall Chopson, life is messy. Remember simplicity. Remember love. Thank you for speaking about this. Yes, it's important. This is coming up, and it's a big cause of depression during this time of year. It's a tough thing. It really is. Elizabeth, does any family other than on TV really have a kumbaya family holiday get together? Some do,
You know,
but
some might. I
I haven't met
personally
them
don't
yet.
know.
But I think
we
some do, you know.
Well, and
Um,
here's the thing: is it's what it really what it is it's are we willing to lean into, as Kevin was saying, the simplicity, the love, the compassion. You know, we tout all the time, you know, tis the season, you know, or tis the reason for the season, but then we're elbowing people in the shopping line and taking the last turkey and honking and getting road rage. So we're really not living an authentic version of that. And if being around your family get your hackles up because you just don't want to be around them, then don't be around them. Are their feelings going to be hurt? Maybe. But, you know, sometimes there's just not, there's a family dynamic that just because we're born into a family, you know, I mean, I know people that just because they're born into a family, they don't particularly like these people. They don't like how they show up. They don't like what they stand for. They don't particularly like them. And it's okay. You don't have to put yourself in a seasonal purgatory, you know,
what
just
is it?
to
Where did y'all find
meet an
me?
obligation.
Where did you find me? I don't belong to any of you people. Yeah. For me, Elizabeth says, being around the drinking is fine and doesn't
Hmm.
ever bother me.
Yeah.
It's the behaviors and attitude that goes along
Hmm.
with drunk folks that is my Achilles heel. Makes me want to turn and run. Oh, that's big. If you're the
Hmm.
designated non-drinker in a group of people who decide we're going to get our drunk on, it is very, very, very tough to be in that. And you have to decide whether or not it is worth it to spend your holidays that way.
Right. And a couple of ways that you can do that is, you know, as I said earlier, creating a plan of action for yourself, setting boundaries with, you know, if you have a mother or a father or your parents or whomever it is, sisters, whoever it is that you're, if it's a friendsgiving, you know, and you're helping out, you know, expressing what your needs are and also asking what others need of you, and then deciding whether or not you're comfortable with what with what's offered up to the table. And if you're not, then it is absolutely okay to say thank you but no thank you.
Right. Joyce, I'm always the sober one. So that's another issue at Christmas parties, etc. Yeah. Sometimes that is. Sometimes that is. You know, it's so funny though. I was raised in a home. I mean, I didn't even use the term sober, just nobody ever drank. Nobody in my family, my extended family, nobody ever drank. So it was weird to think that someone couldn't have a holiday party without alcohol. That was a whole new thing. I go, you mean, wait a minute. You drink at your holiday meal? Where's the sweet tea?
Hmm.
It's just, it's differences in families. And it's not just accepted that that has to be the way it is. Now, Rhonda brings up something very interesting. Rhonda, uh, this is a much smaller thing on a smaller scale. I can't drive, and I often only go where I have to because I don't want to put people out or deal with hassle. When you're dealing with a wheelchair, it is difficult. And I have many of my friends that are impaired in that very same way, Rhonda. Some newly in that situation. Some are going through a holiday for the very first time this year in a wheelchair, and it's tough.
Well, and also it is, and also it can be. I had someone tell me one time who did not have access to a vehicle for their chair, and they said to me, I always get left out. Nobody ever thinks of me. And I
Mm.
looked at him and I said, now this might be true, but have you had 300 and I don't know how many days to plan, right? So Rhonda brings having run we're cutting in and out, and I'm not sure if we got clipped there, but Rhonda brings up a great point that being able to share your needs. You know, we should all be planning in
Hmm.
advance for a lot of things, and sometimes people aren't even aware that there's a need there. They are aware that there's a need, but they don't think about it. It's because there's so many other things going on that they don't think about it, and sometimes they just need a gentle reminder. You know, so that is it's not a very small or a very simple thing, Rhonda. It's a very valid point.
And then you think that, are there other people who might be in the same boat as you're in, who don't have a place to go? And if you have room to have two or three people over that you can invite to your place and say, we're going to all bring a dish and we're going to have our own little Christmas. There is that
Hmm.
option as well, because you understand the plight of other people. Let's talk about the perfect Christmas and the busy anchor, when we are literally anchored by our busyness to make everything perfect. There was always the grandmother who burned the rolls, who was trying so hard and she wouldn't even sit down at the table. Everybody wanted to eat and grandma wouldn't come in because grandma was so busy serving everyone. There's always someone who works so hard at the event that they can't even enjoy the holiday at all. When
Well,
does busyness become an anchor?
Well, I would roll that back just a little bit and say they perhaps are enjoying the holiday. If they're the fix it, the pleaser, the people pleaser, then that's probably a space that they enjoy being in, the busy, the
Ooh,
doing. But at the same time, we can busy ourselves right into resentment. You know, I had
that's
someone
what I
tell
was
me the
about to
other
say.
day.
Hmm.
I had someone tell me the other day, I'm having a friendsgiving, and I'm doing it all. And I said, are they not bringing, your friends not bringing anything? Oh, no, 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 no. I told them I would do it all. And I was like, oh, that's lovely. It's kind of you. And this is a friend of mine in a conversation. I am just stressed over this and this and this. And I said, well, perhaps you could delegate. Well, no, I've already told everybody I'm doing it all. And I was like, well, you can always go back, and you're a week out. You can go back and say, hey guys,
Hmm.
I'd like to delegate a few things. But the need to do it all and the need to be the hero, so to speak, the attention in that is going to keep this person from letting anyone bring anything, including a stick of butter. And they're going to be so exhausted at the end of the day and so tired and have not really enjoyed anything that the need to control it all has squished out, any joy that
Mm.
could be there. So we
Yeah.
have to be real careful with that. I'm all about delegating. I mean, I'm gonna go on the record and say this, and I know if my mom is watching, she's probably gonna call me out on this. My family thinks I can't cook. Every year they ask me to bring deviled eggs, sweet tea, and green beans. I can cook. I just kind of have the things I bring because they're easier. And I don't like to do dressing and all that stuff. I'm not, no. I don't want to be in the kitchen all the time. So we've got to know what works for us, and
Hmm.
also if you have that person that says, you know, do you mind bringing this? Don't be that person that grovels about, well, do you need one Coke or do you need, 1 gallon of tea or do you need 4 or 5? Just bring it. Like this, we can get so far away from the connection that it's just an
Right.
obligation. It's an obligation at that point.
Yeah. Offer something, just offer your kindness, offer to bring something, but don't do anything if you're doing it because you want to get something from it. I think that when we have expectations that we're going to be the hero and it turns out we're not the hero, that, I used to have a place that I would bring things to, and someone would say, "Oh, bring this or bring that or whatever." But if your entree or your meal item that was brought got more attention and more compliments than theirs, they would just get, as we say where I'm from, they get all sold up like a possum. You know, that resentment, that built-in thing was, I wanted to bring something, but I didn't want you to have it better than mine. I mean, there's crazy stuff that happens on these holiday things. The expectation, if you have somebody you want, a rising tide raises all ships. Everybody's food can be great, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and everything doesn't have to be great. I mean, if somebody walks into your house and their dessert is Oreos, you serve up some cold milk and say, we're going to all dunk Oreos like we're 3 years old, and love every second of it, because it's about the gathering.
Exactly. Exactly. It's about the gathering. It's not about
Mhm.
the it's not about also,
Mhm.
well, somebody saying, well, that turkey sure does look good, and somebody else that cooked it going, well, it's really not. It's dry. I didn't do da 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 yada yada. Please, just say thank
Take
you.
the compliment.
Take the freaking compliment.
That's right.
Just take
That
it.
that's that's the deal. So many people are so caught up, and they can't just be. Joyce, we always invite extra people. I always cook so much. I am that grandma. I love you, Joyce. Waiting on everyone and doing most all of the cooking, but I do usually enjoy seeing everyone enjoy themselves. Yes, everybody does, and that's what it's all about. But not at the point where you're so exhausted. I ended
It,
up in the hospital after one of my big hoot nannies where I had to cook for everybody and do everything. And I ended up with an appendicitis attack. And it was just, I had just stressed and done, and it was too much.
did you just say hoot nanny?
I did.
Okay. I was just making sure I heard you correctly.
It's a hoot nanny.
But yes, and Joyce, and Joyce, I want to say to that, that it is lovely that you do for the family, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's beautiful, but just make sure that you are enjoying it as well. Like, let someone help you clean up the table, and from a sitting position, watch people enjoy, watch those grandbabies and all that. It's
Mhm.
really about carving out that time for, you know, I mean, connectedness.
Judy saying, "Hi, Devin. Still reading your book and devotions and love listening to you. Love, Judy from Florida." Thank you so much, Judy. That is so sweet. Joyce, yes, I'm usually wore out to a frazzle.
Okay,
Can't
so
enjoy, worn out to a frazzle.
knowing that, Joyce, what I would say is take breaks and ask for what you need, because you can't continue to wear yourself out to a frazzle, nor can anyone else, because doing that means that you're probably not just doing it on that one day. It's probably a little bit of a pattern that we do through life. We all have our roles that we play. And we want to make sure that next Thanksgiving you're here and you enjoy it as well. So start a new tradition of letting people care for you as much, or at least a fraction, that you care for them.
Mark, hello everybody. He says, Mark, we welcome you. Okay, before we get out of here, this is going to be the first holiday without a loved one for a lot of people. There's
Mhm.
always a first year. There's always a first year. How do we handle the empty chair?
You acknowledge it. That is by far how to embrace it, is whether or not you acknowledge it as a family, you acknowledge it as an individual, you become gentle with yourself. And you know what? Here's the thing. If you've got family getting together and it's your year, with your first year without your child, your spouse, your whatever, and you don't want to go, don't go. You're not in the space right now, and it is real important to honor where you are. Now, you know, that being said, you have to know what you need, and you have to be able to express that to other people. And
One suggestion that I
if it
have
is the
is
first holiday without a loved one, what's that?
shake the etch a sketch. Pick a different thing. Let yourself have a year of going to Disney World, going to a cabin that's away, a different, just literally take that page, those little things you draw, and then you take the page and go, well, it's been drawn
Mm-hmm.
on for 30, 40, 50 years. Take that page and go, and start over. Give yourself a year to have something not traditional. I mean, my Lord, maybe instead of
Right.
turkey and homemade traditional dressing, or the thing that grandma used to make, or the thing that whatever, have something totally different. This year, have brisket. This year, have a big old ham. This year, do something totally out of the box. Have everybody bring something to the party. And instead of cooking it all, literally have your day where we're going to do everything totally different this year. Even sometimes, even a new Christmas tree with different ornaments. Things that are different can help you ease into that and just say, okay, we're going to just take a break. We're going to still have our family. We're going to hold together. We're going to acknowledge, but we're going to do things differently. Just to have a shake the etch a sketch moment.
Absolutely. And another thing that people can do is, a lot of times, I mean, when I work with clients around their first season, um, they're either planning a getaway, and that can be an out of state and out of country, or just in the backyard, kind of getaway.
Right.
Having friends or family over, if you want them over, to share and to celebrate your loved one. Doing a fire pit and doing a release celebration. I
Yeah.
call that a burning bowl celebration, where you're different. There's a big plate of peanut butter and jelly instead of a plate of turkey, and it's okay, because the only reason they're traditions
Yeah.
is because we created them that way.
That's right.
I know families that they eat Chinese every year because that's their thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the tradition they've done. So, and they've done that after having a shift in their family dynamic when a loved
Right.
one, so they've created a new one.
Leslie says, first year without my grandma was extremely hard. We'd gone there for years for Thanksgiving dinner. Yes, yes. Mark says, this year going to Wisconsin Dells for the whole family, rented cabins for Christmas. Leslie says, yeah, I always incorporate something that special only grandma made.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, Rhonda, I love this is how our people, we're like our little support group that meets here every Wednesday at noon. I love Wisconsin Dells. I went to Easter Seals camp as a child there. Isn't that great? One year, Elizabeth says, I had McDonald's for Thanksgiving dinner. I was in a cabin by myself just outside Nashville. It was so peaceful. We need to do what we need to do. Brilliant,
Mm-hmm.
Elizabeth. Brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah. Having to do, not falling in, having a loved one not with us present this year can bring up a whole different thing. Then you're going to have families that are divided. You're going to have some families that are like, I'm still not feeling the COVID thing, and you know what? That's okay too. We're humans. We're resilient. we can figure it out as long as we don't put a whole bunch of expectations on ourselves, and we're able to respectfully please ourselves and not intentionally hurt someone else's feelings.
It was really funny because I had a friend who called me to be pitiful one year. It was last year because of COVID. I went into Aldi and they had this wonderful, it was like these little turkey dinner things that were stuffed turkey breast that had like cranberry stuffing and walnuts. And it was like microwavable. I'm going, what is this? I mean, I'm just going to be me. So I took that home and girl, it was like the most delicious turkey I'd ever had in my whole life. I mean, it was really good. And I thought, and when this friend called me to be pitiful, said, well, I just put something in a microwave. I said, so did I. It was so good. I didn't even have a dish to wash. It was like amazing. It was, I couldn't go anywhere, but it's like, wow. Suzanne says, I love to cook the dinner, but hate the cleanup.
Yeah.
So what we know is that if somebody says, well, what can I bring? Rubber gloves and clean up afterward, help me clear everything. Yes.
Right.
Sometimes we just have to. Yes. And I've learned that if I have somebody in my life that is pitiful and calls me to be pitiful on a day and tries to bring me down on a day, I have a tendency to say, we're going to talk on another day. I'm not going to pick up my phone. We are not connected to our cell phones as a rule. We do not have to answer.
Absolutely. And here's the other thing.
So if I don't answer you
all the time. Right. And here's the thing, if we have the energy to call someone and be pitiful, then we have the energy to go out and take someone a sandwich on the street corner. We have choices. We either choose to inspire and lift up, or we choose to yank people and drag them down. And sometimes we are, sometimes we do hurt people's feelings with our choices. But, and this sounds harsh, but it's not your intention,
right?
Unless you're just a shitty person, and then you probably shouldn't be invited to Thanksgiving anyway.
You're so funny. Well, y'all, we're going to pull this thing to a close. Do not let the obligation and the hassle and the expectation ruin a great day. Your happiness is a choice each and every day. And anything that you'd like to add to that, Miss Teri?
I just want everybody to create memorable moments, not just during the holidays. I got in the car today and the leaves, as I was driving away, kind of flew off the car. Girl, I stopped and got my camera out and did it in slow-mo because I just thought that's just so pretty. You're driving down the street and these little fall leaves are just floating away. And I thought that's a moment that if we're not present in our mind and our body, we don't see those things. They become more of a headache. So carve out pockets, create memories and memorable moments that feel good to you, and lift you up, and ultimately will lift up others. And I will say this, on the website thingy you got here today for us, and this lovely little transcendingturbulence.com, that's actually not my website.
What is it? TeriPugh.com. I'm an idiot.
So
I know that it's Transcending Turbulence on Facebook.
It used to be my company name, but the website was too long, and my marketing people said, you got to let it go. So I just got all,
let it go.
Okay. Let it go. I just released it. I just said GoDaddy.com. I'm not buying it again. Actually, I still do have it, but whatever. Yes, I want everyone to have a wonderful, actually, we'll see everybody next Wednesday, the day before. So we'll check in and see what everybody's cooking and how you're feeling. But until then,
doing it. Yeah.
I want folks to increase the peace. Increase their peace of mind, and all of that.
And I look in that moment of looking carefully and catching those moments, we can all be poets. Kevin is the poet laureate of Gallatin, Tennessee. So I love it. We do. Let's look for the poetry. Increase the peace is Teri's poetry every day, every show.